y'all, and welcome back to season 2 of Above the Tree Line. I am your host, Lauren Thurston, pastor here at ACF, and I am here with a phenomenal guest today. I'm so excited to finally interview, and that is the amazing Miss Susanna Gresswell.
Thank you.
Also with an amazing British accent.
Yes.
I always say everything.
Can't help it.
Everything sounds better when you say it. It sounds more eloquent and refined.
I'm working on my Texas, y'all.
Y'all. Well, that's not a very pretty word. Are you originally born and raised in England?
I am, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
originally.
How long have you been in the States?
We've been here 8 years.
Okay, so all before that, your whole life, you're in England.
Yeah, this was our one and I'm not going to say only because I never knew that we would be here. So like God has a plan, but yeah, this is our first move away from our home country. It's something that my husband John and I had talked about for years. Like we both worked for American companies through our careers. We always thought at some point, and we always talked about, it'll be great to live and work like in a country other than our home country, because we would observe people just have this other depth to them when they've like moved countries. And so we always talked that we would do it one day. We always thought it'd be California because we typically worked for Californian-based companies. And it
you
turned
made the
out
right choice.
It was
Texas.
Austin, and we are super happy. Yeah,
Awesome.
We're really happy. Yeah.
Okay, so you and I have had some conversations. You're kind of one of those all-in ACFers. Like you're involved in the women's ministry. You have small groups. You go on mission trips. You got your hands in a lot of different places at ACF. How long have you been a Christ follower?
2016 was when I got baptized.
Okay.
So maybe a little bit before that.
Were you raised in a
so
Christian home?
I was not. So my dad's agnostic. I do have some faith background. My aunt was faith, but my mum's dad lost his faith after the war. So like I never went to church. Didn't grow up with a Christian, backstory at all. And it was literally John and I sitting down one year between Christmas and New Year going, hey, like, what are the goals that we want to do for this year? And we've been having lots of conversations about how religion was the bane of the world and it was cause of all the issues.
Oh, as religion is bad. Okay.
Yeah. And we were having that conversation. I was like, well, do you know what? I'm kind of fed up with like saying religion's bad when I actually really don't know where I stand on any of these things. Like if you scratch the surface, it would be really like thin. I said, so let's go and investigate our own spirituality. And that started us on a journey. And 3-4 years later, we became Christians. We looked at everything.
So you were open to all faiths.
We were open to everything. I literally went from studying, should I be looking at pantheism or monotheism? So like that one, it was all logical. Like I have to solve this by logic because this has to register here before it's going to go here. So we did that. Then that landed me on, well, then it's either Judaism, Islam, or Christianity. And so I studied all of those. And then the evidence, which is really what got us there, led us to Christianity. And we've been there ever since. Yeah.
Okay, so the question I want to tee up for you today is in regards more to missions. And I mean, like I'm talking more specifically like mission trips. There are, I mean, I feel like I've heard kind of some rumblings, like when I ask people like, oh, are you going to go on this mission trip? Like there's sometimes seems to be a perception that it's like, oh, well, I haven't been a Christian that long, or I'm not there yet. I'm not that involved. And so like from your perspective, is mission something like as soon as you're a believer, you could jump right into, or is it something that like you kind of grow into over time?
I would say it's something you can jump straight into. For me, it was something I grew into over time. I became a Christian. I was still studying the evidence, learning a lot, eventually got baptized. You said that I'm all in at ACF. That's because of becoming a Christian. And when we moved here to Austin, we left our entire community behind. And the one thing that we learned when we became Christians is what an amazing community of people you can become a part of. And you get into really good, deep relationships really quickly. It's none of that shallow conversation. When you get into Bible study groups, etc., you get deep quickly and vulnerable quickly. And that was something that I experienced back in the UK. So when we moved here, the one thing that I knew is that to build community, we have to be all in at our church. That's the only way you get there. Like you can't just show up on a Sunday. You have to be all in. You have to come serve. You have to do small groups. You have to get involved. And that's how you go build your community. So John and I both did the same thing. Like he's gotten involved in, his men's groups, etc. Then the reason I ended up going up on mission was I actually wasn't in a great place. I'd just been let go from work. So, I was kind of, feeling adrift, actually feeling community less at that point because I'd put everything. The reason we're here is because of my work. So I'd put everything in to really leaning into my network at work and building my career. And then God took that away. He had reasons, right? He's like, okay, you're focused on the wrong thing. And suddenly found myself, well, I came here, I know the key to community, but I'm not doing it. And so as a result of that, that's when I really started to get involved in the small groups and everything else. So that was a real catalyst.
Did your serving start like within the church before you started serving outside the church?
Yes.
Okay, so like volunteering with like...
It did in the UK. Here, probably not so much. No, it was more doing small groups is how I got involved here. And then I had always had it on my bucket list. So I wouldn't say that there was this great altruistic, thing about me of like, I must go on mission. It was like, you know what? I'm feeling adrift. I need a perspective shift. I need just a complete reset for me. What's the next mission trip that's coming up?
Okay.
And I literally just like, okay, there's one coming up in April. And I think this was like January or February. And I signed myself up for it. Had no idea what I was signing up for. I knew it was a women's mission trip and it was going to Guatemala. And
so
that was as much as I knew.
So you didn't even start with like local missions or national missions. You went straight into the overseas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
So as someone, I've never done overseas missions. I'm very passionate. My husband and I serve nationally. Like there's one of our amazing ministry partners in Galveston. I go serve with students, and then we also go up to Colorado with Wind River Ranch, and these are incredible ministry partners. I have never, for me, felt called to go overseas. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's maybe me being like, I don't want to leave like my kids here. I don't want to get too far away from home. Like, what is it that kind of pushes you across that line where you're like, yes, I'm going to go internationally to go spread the gospel?
Yeah. I honestly I think both are good. And we're called anyway. We're commissioned by God to go and be on mission. So you can be missioned in your family. You can be a mission, locally. The reason I went international is because I put my name down for it. It wasn't like I had like this strong calling of I have to go international. I do have an appreciation, having moved countries and having traveled all over the world, that when you go international, you go to a completely different culture. You will get a deeper level of a broader perspective, I would say, of the world. And when you have that shift in culture, have that shift in language, the language barrier is huge for me. I go to Guatemala, I don't speak a word of Spanish, right? So it's not like I'm going there fully equipped. And I think that's part of the beauty of it. And so for me, it was more I need to go and get like a complete reset for me. And getting a shift in perspective. I don't think there's really a better way to do that than like get yourself completely outside of the culture you're in. And then you suddenly get a real appreciation and gratitude for what you've got. And I needed that at the time that I went. And I've needed it every year, every day since.
So it's really interesting so you went, your motivation for going was because of for you personally, you're like, I need something different. So it's funny because there's sometimes this, I don't know, somewhat curmudgeon-y, I guess, perspective on missions where it's like, oh, people from America just go on mission trips just to make themselves feel better. Like they're not going to really help anybody else. But to a certain extent, there is something that benefits you.
Yeah.
So what is that? What do you get out of that?
So the shift in perspective, God, the thing that I've experienced, and I've been 3 years now, the thing that I've experienced every time is God orchestrates exactly the people that go on that trip with you for you. and it's incredible, and for them too. Like he's doing it for everybody. But for me, every year I've gone, it has just been these people feed into you and they speak into you, and
the
they
other
see
volunteers. You mean
the other
Okay.
volunteers? Because
Okay.
it's them that you're spending the bulk of the time, the majority of your time with, right? Because there's early hours of travel. There's long travel in minibuses. There's sitting and waiting at airports, and sometimes there's delays. So there's more time at airports than you ever wanted in your life. But it's actually been through those times. We've been really grateful for delays because we've actually just spent time getting to know each other. And then you walk away with these community of people that you've had shared experiences with, which you can't get any other way because you've had that intense time together. You've walked through stuff, you've seen stuff, you've served together. You have this intensity to going on international mission that I don't know how I would get it any other way. And yeah, I found it's for me. Now, am I going to help serve in these ministries? Absolutely. But the reality is that you can't build strong relationships with them in a week, right? Because you're doing some time with them, but not as much time as you're doing with your group, your volunteer group. I'm not there to build relationships with the women in Guatemala or the children that are there. Yes, they'll recognize me now. I'm going back third year in, but like, I don't have an ongoing daily relationship with them. The people I do have a daily relationship with are the people that I went with and that are part of my church and part of my Big C church and my community once I'm back. And those people are the people that I've got super vulnerable with. There are always tears. They know my heart and what's going on, the challenges I'm facing. Far better than I'll get from chatting to somebody, for 10 minutes at the end of church on a Sunday. Like you go deep. When you go
That's a really interesting perspective because I know one of our other ministry partners is located in Nicaragua, and a lot of people sponsor children there and they go year after year and they see that child. And so there is kind of an ongoing relationship. So I think it's interesting to hear your perspective because my perspective is always you're going for the people who are there to have a lasting impact on them. But I never actually thought about it being this connection piece between the people you travel with. But I will say this most recent mission trip that I went on to Colorado, I fell in love with my small group. That hasn't necessarily happened to me in other mission trips, but I found myself longing. There was a couple there from Louisiana, had a totally different accent. I'm fascinated by accents. Had been through Katrina, and then I found myself I'm gonna really miss them when this is over because we don't live in the same state. But at the same time, the people that do go to ACF that I traveled with, now we have this bond together that's this level of vulnerability that we didn't have before. Yeah. And that's all because of serving together. But it was interesting when I started talking to you, it was wow, you have a very different perspective on missions, and not right or wrong, just
that's just my experience now. And everybody's different, right? And I know that there are people that have gone there and they've fallen in love with the kids, and that's why they keep going. And I personally contribute to Eagle's Nest because there was the first year a little boy there, Abdiel, gorgeous, fell in love with him, and I was like, he's my boy. But it's a foster home at the same time, so he's not there anymore, right? So I still support the home. But that's the reality of that mission. Those children are transitory in many instances. And other people have experienced that too. And I would always also say, and this is being really honest, I love my own children. I have a limited amount of energy for everybody else's children.
Yeah.
And the people that I go on mission with know that. So it's when we're doing stuff there, my heart is actually for the women's conference. That's one of the things that we do when we're there, because I have a heart for women and community, because I've been on the wrong side of that, where I've been a subject of bullying and women behaving badly towards each other. Yeah. So I have a heart for women, and that got turned around when I became a Christian and I met Christian women. Not to say that we're all perfect, because we're not, but I experienced a different kind of engagement with women, which rebuilt my trust in women, which I had not had. And so I have a heart for the women's conference when we go, more than I have a heart for the kids. I mean, they drain me of energy, just to be very honest.
Well, everybody kind of has that sweet spot. I'm not I feel like my sweet spot is not necessarily children, but I feel like I work out very well with like youth, which is why
yes.
like I've never really, I felt more passionate about like leading teenagers.
Yes. I'd be
So
all
everybody
about
has
that,
their
like bringing
groups
up that next
they're
generation.
called to.
Yeah, love that.
Okay, selfishly, I'm going to reveal also, there's something very intimidating for me about international travel, especially when like we have ministry partners all over the world, and it's a very different lifestyle. Like your living conditions. I feel even bad for even saying that, but there's been times where I've looked at like, okay, should we go over to Africa? But then I'm like, there's part of me that's kind of scared. Is that like, what do you say to people who are kind of battling that fear?
And my husband, John, was very concerned. He's like the security person in our household. So he was very concerned the first year I was going, because it was Guatemala, and he looked up all the stuff from Guatemala. He was like, you shouldn't be going there. It's really dangerous. And even just the living conditions. I will say Guatemala, of all the mission trips, is like, it's probably the 5-star mission trip. Like, you know, we're staying in apartments with, you know, flushing toilets and
running water,
running water
electricity.
and electricity most of the time. They do have some power outages. We've never experienced them, but they have had that. So, you know, it's on a different level. But the other thing that I would say is I went into it not necessarily knowing that, and being open to the fact that I could be sleeping in a mattress on a dirt floor. I didn't know. But just being open to, I'm going to get myself out of my comfort zone, because that's where I grow. And that's the thing that I've experienced, again, every year I've gone back, is I get so much growth. My faith grows as a result of going.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, you're spending a week dedicated out of your normal day-to-day, focused on God and what he's doing. And you're spending time talking, you know, morning, lunch, dinner time, like, where did you see God today? Where did you see God today? How, you know, where did he show up?
You're just looking out for those
so focused
things.
on it, and you're looking for him, and you're hearing him. Like, I hear him in a different way when I'm there, because I'm centered on, I'm much more focused on him, right? We're here, and that's the shift in perspective I talk about. It's like, here we have plenty, and we have distractions aplenty. And it's those distractions which stop us hearing the voice of God. When you're there on mission for him in the first place. So you're going with a purpose for him. You're going there to serve others who are of Christian background, right? So they're there serving on a full-time basis, and we're showing up being the hands and feet of Jesus. And then you're reflecting constantly on, where did you see him show up today? And so it's just this degree of focus.
Yeah, it's being very intentional, because that's not,
Really
I mean, like
intentional.
when we were on our mission trip, every night we would spend like 2 hours together talking about where we saw God, talking about the parts of our life stories that, you know, just would glorify God and the way he's brought beauty from ashes. But then like you get back home, and me and my husband aren't sitting around having that conversation.
Yeah. It's like, what are we having for dinner, and what's on the schedule
Exactly.
tomorrow, and what do we need to do with the kids? And Amber's going off to college, so like, are we ready for that? Never. Yeah.
Yeah.
all the things, right? So, and that's what I mean. It's that shift of perspective. And then the other thing that I observe, and this is, again, and I hear it, I've not been to Nicaragua, but I hear it, is you see these people with nothing. Right? They literally have nothing. They don't know necessarily where their next meal is going to be coming from that day, but they have faith, and they have this huge joy. And that, again, seeing that builds my faith, because I see these people who have nothing, and all they've got is faith and a trust. That's all they can fall back on, is this trust in God. And they're so adamant about, God's going to come through. I know I'm dealing with all this stuff, and I'm not sure how he's going to provide, but I know he is, because he's done it time and time again. So you hear their stories, and that in and of itself then builds my faith. When I'm struggling with, like my contract's coming to the end, I don't know when my next paycheck's coming from. I'm like, yeah, but like, I've got money in the bank. We're going to be fine. Let's be honest, like, put it into perspective here. Like, I'm not on death's door. I'm not, about to be thrown out of my house. I have so much. And that's why I'm like, your gratitude and your faith grows by having that shift in perspective.
Yeah, you definitely see a correlation between like the countries where there's higher levels of persecution, especially against the Christian faith. And there's a correlation. I mean, you look at like certain parts of Asia and Africa and South America where the Christian faith is booming, but they have very little.
Yeah.
And then you look at America where we have so much, and roughly 30% of people go to church once a month.
Yeah. And we have the highest levels of depression and anxiety. Like, having lots isn't necessarily a good thing, but we are privileged that we have lots. So let's go use it for good. And that's where I see the opportunity for mission is I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to fix the poverty issues in Guatemala by going. But I am privileged to have the opportunity to go. And yeah, I'm going to benefit and grow as a result because God's going to show me how much I've got and he's going to shift my attitude. And I need that every day.
And then you start thinking about if all Christians gave and served, and if the churches were just busting at the seams with people who wanted to give and serve, how much of the world's problems could be fixed?
Yeah.
Could we end hunger if everybody put their hand to the plow and worked together? Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
I love hearing your perspective. Again, as someone who's never been on an international mission trip.
Go.
Yes. Yes, I need to get over, like...
And don't be scared. Like, I mean, the thing that I would also say, my experience, ACF do it really well.
Yeah.
Like, you're taken care of. Like, you're always going to be traveling in a group. Are you going to be out of your comfort zone? Yeah, but that's part of growth. But ACF do it really well. They care about safety, and you're always going on something that's organized. So you're not just being sent out alone into the wilderness and figure it out. You're going there for a purpose. And you're always going to work with the full-time missionaries who are there, who know the place, who know what to do and how to do it.
Well, even mine going to Colorado with my husband, like right before it was time to leave, I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave my kids at home. Like,
well, the enemy will get at you. I mean, he does it to me too. And he'll, don't forget, like even John, when I go away, he's on mission, right? And the enemy will try and get to him because I've gone.
Yeah.
So mission is not an individual thing, it's a family thing, for sure. And the enemy likes to get in the middle of it and get after you with the fear and all the things as to why you shouldn't. And then it's just to stand up to him and say, no, I'm going.
But then when you get back, you're like, oh thank God,
good.
like an experience that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Susanna. I appreciate your insight and sharing.
to do it.
And I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. I mean, really, my whole thing is if you're on the fence, and I mean, full disclosure, I'm on the fence about serving in certain parts of the world. If you're on the fence about it, ACF is happy to answer your questions. We've got a lot of people who travel the world and go and serve and take the gospel to the nations and like fulfill the Great Commission, just like the Bible tells us to. So I definitely want to encourage you guys, if you're thinking about getting involved in missions, our missions team here is fantastic. We would love to talk to you about it, and just kind of see where God sends you. And if you're one of the people that can't go anywhere right now, your mission field is right here at home, wherever your home is. So just want to encourage you guys on that. If you have other questions about missions or traveling or really anything else, please continue to send them in at www.acfellowship.org/podcast. And we look forward to answering another one of y'all's questions next week.